fight for power. I fight the free road for men like them.
Hi, welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fredus Satilius.
And today we're going to be talking about Ridley Scott's Gladiator II. So Gladiator II follows Hanno, a.k.a. Lucius, the boy from the first movie. He's all grown up, living in Africa, and after his home is conquered by the Roman Empire, he gets enslaved, forced into becoming a gladiator, fighter, and seeking revenge against the tyrannical Roman emperors in general. And we get basically a beat for beat kind of retelling of the first movie. I'm going to throw it to you first. I mean, I have quite a few thoughts, but I'll throw it to you first here.
Well, it's a completely predictable story. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like when they made The Godfather and then Godfather 2, mm-hmm. It was like the die was cast. Mm-hmm. So you knew that you weren't told that the slave was Lucius, mm-hmm. all grown up. But anybody with any imagination should have easily figured that out, and shame on me for not going, I know what's going on here. But I didn't do that. I just sat there. And then it was revealed that he was Lucius. And now his mother, who had sent him away for his own safety, was now married to the general that conquered Lucius's people. Mm-hmm. And because it started with a naval battle, it was like the Punic Wars. You know, it was obvious North Africa, they were attacking Carthage, but it wasn't Carthage. Mm-hmm. It was like a smaller kingdom. You know, they had fortified walls and stone walls and stuff. Technically, they should have easily beat the other guys, but you know how it is, management and everything.
Right.
But that was the storyline, that the Romans came to North Africa. They attacked this fortified city. They killed everybody and enslaved the ones they didn't kill. One of them was this poor guy. They killed his wife, who was a very good archer. Mm-hmm. Took a bullet took an arrow right in the chest, you know, really dramatic. And there's a lot of arrows in the chest in that movie.
Yes.
And he saw her death, and as a result, he lost his awareness of the battle going on, and they knocked him off the wall, and he fell into the ocean where she was, and he had the weird nightmare, and he woke up on the beach, and the Romans just gathered him up. He didn't fight his way out. He was all destroyed from falling off the wall into the ocean. And they gathered him up, and he wanted revenge for the death of his wife. Now, all the time, the thing that you and I weren't clear on or whatever, and I'm assuming you weren't clear on it, did he remember that he was Lucius all that time? Or had he blocked that out like blocking a trauma, like where you know what I mean?
Yeah, I took it as he knew. He just wanted to get rid of that side of his life, right? Like when his mother first
his mother had betrayed him.
Yeah. And he's like, no, whoever, I don't know what you're talking about. I think he did know. He was just trying to separate that. Like he said, whatever boy you knew is dead. You know, like he's gone.
I couldn't be that. Now, the first thing they tell you in the movie theater is turn off your phone. So we're recording right now. So, you know, I don't want this thing to ring while we're doing this. So let's see if I can get that figured out real quick here. Now, here's another tricky part in the movie. They said that his mother, that she claimed that her son Lucius was from some man.
Yeah.
But the wink, wink, nod, nod secret was that her own brother Commodus was the father. And I thought that was a creepy detail we didn't need to know. So in reality, Lucius could have been, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they said that was the rumor, one of the rumors,
right. Yeah.
But really, I guess the fact is, the other reveal is that Maximus is his actual father. Which, I mean, I buy it, of course. It makes sense. It kind of sucks for his other family.
Right, and the other one she says, right, yeah.
But, you know, whatever. I mean, they were together before, obviously, but I don't know how that timeline works out. But
yeah,
convenient.
But it was interesting to me that he put on his armor at the end. He put on his, and he fit it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it was like that was very personal body armor back then. They had to sort of make it right on you, you know. It's a Ridley Scott movie, and man, is it ever.
Yeah.
The first thing that tipped me over was the fight with the wild monkeys. And those were animated monkeys. Now, the first Gladiator movie was really real looking. Like everything was very, like they were humans. They didn't have any special weapons or extra strength or anything. There was nothing in there that was a little bit more. It was kind of like, looked pretty real. But once they had the cartoon monkeys attack them with the green screen and stuff, I was like, oh, it's Planet of the Apes. I thought it was a Gladiator. It's here, you know. And that set me off badly. I loved the naval battle in the beginning, even though I wanted the strategy to be all different. That all pissed me off. but once I saw the monkeys, it took the original movie, the fact that it was going to be like the original movie, it was out.
Right.
It was like, well, this is going to have stupid stuff in it. And then at the end of the movie, there was the same disappointment. They had the giant army that was coming to Rome to attack the Praetorian Guard and the Roman soldiers, and it was going to be like a 5,000 to 6,000 guy battle.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty even battle and all that kind of stuff. And you saw this army coming and that army, and it was like the Battle of Helm's Deep, you know what I mean, from the two towers.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, wow, we're going to have, because I love sword and sandal movies, right? Like the catapults and everything. You know, they had that in the beginning, and I was ready for the big thing where, you know, his army defeats the Roman army and he becomes the emperor and all that kind of stuff. He like talked his way out of it. Like, what's it going to be? Everybody, peace or war? And they went like, put their swords back in the shelf. Like, armies did this in 200 AD? Really? You know, like there would have been a couple of guys would have just started fighting anyway. Like, I'm going to die today. You know?
Just all based off him being like, I am like an Aurelius, Lucius, whatever, Aurelius.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I'm the
grandson of Marcus
Aurelius.
But everyone is just like, oh, damn, okay. He must be honest.
Those people didn't read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he was like, after Commodus, they had emperors that were emperors for like 3 months, and then they were knocked off.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like after Commodus there was one guy, and then, you know, because they had it where they had the two brothers who were co-emperors. And such a thing did happen in Rome where there were two emperors. There was like an East and West. I don't know that they were brothers. In fact, they weren't.
Yeah.
You know, but they did like have to divide the empire because the management was just going nuts and fighting Persia and fighting the Germanics as two different whole wars, right? So there was such a thing, but this was weird. And they had two guys. One guy was in love with a monkey, and because he was afraid of what the war would do to his monkey, he killed his brother. That is the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
That's the psycho. That's worse than patricide, worse than, you know.
Yeah, that dude was crazy, like clearly off, you know, and that's one thing. So, all right, I'm going to start from the top a little bit here.
I kind of went everywhere, didn't I?
Yeah.
The movie was fun to watch.
Yeah.
There were great battle scenes and the armor on the guys, on the gladiators, and how they fought and everything. And they had that same, like, a mock sea battle in the Colosseum.
Right.
And of course, just like the chariot battle in the original movie, this guy becomes the general. He tells everybody what to do. One guy says, "Why should we?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Everybody follow me and listen to my order. Why should we?"
Yeah.
Well, he gets killed right away.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you went out. You know.
Well, so
anyway, I'm sorry, Rudy.
No,
let me have it.
Yeah, you're good.
Let's get a rational review now. You know.
So, I mean, I liked it for the most part. It's good. I do think it's worth checking out. Right from the get-go, when I found out they were making this movie 3-4 years ago, however long that was, I immediately thought, and I carried this all the way through, like, why are we doing a sequel? We don't need it. The other movie is like a modern classic, stands the test of time.
Yeah.
And just not like, all right, 20 years later, or whatever, 23, 24 years later, we're going to do this. And
running out of franchises.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So again, it's good. Like I think it's worth watching. You know, we got Thanksgiving week coming up. Go check it out. It is entertaining, good action. You know, I dig the acting, but yeah, it doesn't surpass or even reach the level of the first film. And I mean, part of that is it doesn't have the same emotional impact that the first one did. Right. First off, we meet Maximus. He's general. We see him in battle, so we see his warrior prowess. Right.
And his devotion to his Lord.
Yeah. To for his family. And here with Paul Mescal, who this is the first movie I've seen him in. I guess he was like a nominated actor a couple years ago. I don't know.
I didn't buy him for the first little bit. I was like, oh, there's no way this guy's the hero. But after a short amount of time, I was like, you got it.
Yeah.
He handled everything well. He handled the part well.
And I think he's good. Like as the actor, he's good. As far as the character goes, though, again, I feel like there wasn't enough emotional stakes there. Like one, we get that he's a warrior, he's a fighter, but there's nothing telling us or showing me that he has an extra edge above all the other just normal fighters, whereas Maximus did, and they make that clear. They establish that. And then, his wife gets killed, okay, but it just doesn't hit as much as Maximus.
Yeah, she doesn't get crucified and burned.
Exactly.
She takes an arrow and falls off the wall.
He goes, he finds them. It just, all right, he wants the revenge, but it just doesn't quite hit the same way. And again, for the most part, like pretty beat for beat similar, okay.
Yeah.
He had Emperor's tyrannical. He's gonna go.
Yeah, but
he
he wasn't even against the Emperor.
Yeah, he wanted the general.
Against the general.
He wanted the general.
It was like such a minor story.
Yeah,
he didn't have to face off on the Emperor of Rome.
Yeah,
and the Emperor of Rome didn't know him from anybody.
Right.
And it was that way, And when you say beat for beat, in the original one, he had the two little figures that were his son and daughter. I mean, his son and wife, right? And now he had the broken off arrow,
right?
That he broke off. That he kept it. Like when you're captured in a slave like that, you don't get to keep an artifact.
Yeah.
Like they strip you naked and they hose you. You know what I mean? It was like he kept that, managed to keep that. Been better off keeping a knife.
Yeah, right.
So
I thought that was interesting when he had it later. I was like, it just has it in his pockets or whatever.
Right, or maybe that was a new one.
Yeah. And with the emperors, I actually would have liked to know a little bit more of where, like, we get the title card in the beginning. It's 16 years later. Everything went straight back to hell after a while. The dream was lost. But they're just kind of there, and they don't have that much depth. We know that they're psycho. They're kind of... They just seem like spoiled brats to me.
Yeah, they're just silly kids.
Just spoiled young guys that like have everything they want, right? And have this power, and they should not be in that position. But they don't have the depth that, say, Commodus had.
Oh, man.
The insecurity, the longing for his father's approval.
Right.
The fact that him and Maximus came up together. Yeah, his sister, all that he's going to kill his own father out of jealousy because he's not going to get chosen to be the emperor, and then betraying his friend and everyone. Like, there was just way more going on there with these guys. And granted, I guess the change up is then really Denzel Washington, Macrinus, I think was his name.
That's a whole other thing we're going to get into. Yeah.
Is really ultimately kind of the villain of the movie, but it just didn't hit as hard. And one, I guess, new little conflict I did like that I thought did make it a little more interesting was with the general played by Pedro Pascal, which I love him. But man, we need to take a break from like making him the lead and everything. Give the guy a break. He's in every single movie now. I loved him ever since Narcos, but give him a break. I'm just like,
the same thing with Denzel, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. But I did like the conflict of we come to find, that he's actually over the emperor's nonsense. Like, we gotta overthrow him. This is shenanigans. He's like, I'm tired of just like losing all these soldiers for their vanity. So we know that he also
just like
isn't
Maximus,
on the same page.
The horror of war
was
we got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Good men are dying. Mm-hmm. One thing, the enemy's dying, but many of our own good guys. And, I've been saying this in reference to World War II. And in one of the MASH episodes, the general tells the Hawkeye, he says, expect a lot of casualties. We're going to have this battle. We're going to have 1,000 American casualties. And he says, then why are we doing it? It's obviously not a good plan. We're going to have 1,000 casualties.
Right.
He says, what kind of plan is that?
Yeah.
Make a plan that doesn't include 1,000 casualties. And it's the same thing here. Like, the general was at the point where I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done for the glory of Rome, for the glory of the emperors. He says, I've given you all this glory. Let me just go home and be a farmer now.
Yeah.
Let me just tend to he goes, we got to feed Rome. That's important too.
Yeah.
And I want to just do that. And they're like, oh, no. We're sending you right back in.
We got to go to Persia, got to go to India. Like, we need you back out there, man. We put your wife up in a good place. Don't forget that. But you got to go back. And we're going to throw this fight in the arena in your honor, whether you like it or not.
He hated that. He's like, I don't want people to die in my glory. And that's a terrible thing,
Yeah. And, the conflict with then he finds out that his wife, Hanno is her son, and now he has to help rescue him as well. But Hanno wants his head. Hanno being Lucius, that's the name he goes by.
Right.
So I did think that was
very much like Hannibal, who was a Carthaginian because he was from northern Africa.
Right.
It was like, can you think of something that's not immediately connected?
Right. Like reference.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was another cheap. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of cheap stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of, I noticed that some of the combatants were actually wearing motorcycle helmets that were just sprayed flat
really?
black. Yeah, it's like, well, I know. I had that helmet. The costumes weren't really quite as good as in the original either.
I was going to go back to that first, gladiator fight with the apes, with the monkeys. And to your point, first off, when they came out, I was like, man, this is hardcore. They're not even going to pit them up against people. They're going to go against these big old apes that'll just rip a person apart. This should be pretty violent, pretty brutal.
And they weren't even natural looking apes. They were cartoon. They were,
It was, and that's to your point. Yeah, the CGI in that moment did pull me out. I'm just like, oh man, okay, we're here with the CGI animals, and that took it a notch down. I'd rather let's just go in and see the people fight hand to hand, and it immediately makes me think of the tiger scene from the first movie, where there is a little compositing and CGI blended in there for sure, but they've got shots of the real thing, and he's. They're using some movie magic to get him looking like he's close to these real tigers, but that it's an actual tiger there on film.
Yeah,
with a little bit of augmentation with
and
visual effects. But
other gladiators survived the monkey attack.
Yeah,
it wasn't like he was the only one. And they picked him he really fought good. Well, yeah, because other guys had psycho monkeys.
Yeah, that was another weird moment. The way they shot that was they didn't really show anything else that was going on. It was all focused on him, which makes sense to a point, right? He's our main character, but then he kills that monkey and it ends, and everyone's still just standing there.
Some of the guys were already done.
Yeah,
most of the guys were standing around
just waiting for him.
What's the matter? All out of monkeys?
Yeah. So that was a odd kind of editing, shooting choice to me. The boat battle, they did the recreation of this epic fight in the Colosseum was interesting. And that felt like it was kind of cool with the sharks, but also felt over the top.
The CGI shark.
We really need to add that.
Right, now we have Jaws, right?
Yeah.
We have Planet of the Apes. Right. Now they're going to meet Jaws. And those sharks could really move, couldn't they? Like the guy fell over like a cruise missile,
Right.
We're going to bite the guy, And they weren't really a factor. That was another cheap thing.
Yeah.
If they had one realistic shark, and it was you had to stay away from that a little bit or something, but they had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
A
swarm of them.
And how would you, first of all, you'd have to have salt water, right? The Colosseum was filled with fresh water from the aqueducts. They didn't bring ocean water in.
Right.
So the sharks wouldn't even been able to be in that water. It just pissed me off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're like, how do we top the chariot scene from the first one? And that was it.
It was cool when they smashed the boats into each other and they broke all the oars off, and the guy rammed the other boat, and they had the guys who could row and everything. And I did think it was cool, being that I do row myself.
Okay.
I thought it was cool that they had the log and you drag it through the sand, you pull the log, and then you push the log, and then you pull the log. That looked like a bitchin' workout.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody had gloves. I don't understand how And that was another thing when he had that fist fight with the guy with the gloves with the spikes.
Yeah.
If you
He
got
should have
hit
been way-
one
yeah.
time, you'd be dead. One gut
Yeah.
shot or that guy goes, "Oh, you have a strong jaw." Yeah, against a fistful of knives.
Yeah.
Those were like inch-long spikes.
No cuts, scrapes,
No, he was
nothing.
good. He was good. Clint came out of there laughing out his way out. Like, I showed him.
I love that he really came out like a boxer too, Like,
Right. Oh, yeah.
I would expect it to be a little more barbaric than that, but they're over here just like having a boxing match. Yeah,
It was kind of like the Tyson fight in that way.
Right. I mean, that's like him versus Denzel at the end, right? Like, all right, young dude versus the old man. Yeah, so Denzel.
I did like the old man doctor though. He was a cool guy.
Oh, Ravi, I think was his name. Yeah, his Dr.
Yeah,
Friend.
that was a cool part, and he had cool. He did good stuff, and
Yeah.
Now see, he was like a more believable character that could be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I've been wounded a lot. I know how to dress wounds.
Right.
I lose a lot of guys. I save some of them. Right. He said infection kills more guys in the arena.
Yeah.
And he was the messenger. He was the guy that, our gladiator could trust. And he said, give this message to somebody. And then he goes ride a horse into an army of 5,000 men, run right up to the general's tent, jumps up the horse,
Just,
walks in and goes,
pushing people
"Hey,
aside."
check out this ring." And then the guy looks at the ring. "Where did you get this? How many guesses do you need?" He would have never made it. The first centuries, they would have filled him up with arrows. That
Right,
would be the
yeah.
end, right? Like,
Well, look, because there's even a guy who's like, wait, no, you can't go there. Wait, stop. And he just rides past
right.
them.
It was like kind of Keystone Copy.
Pushing people, like pushing these guards, these warriors.
Right.
Yeah, well, and that too, again, there's a lot of, and I mean, I guess maybe this is just how it is in the day, right? But just trusting the word of everybody. You know what I mean? Like, hey, yeah, here's the ring. This is the son of Maximus.
Oh,
the
then we have
grandson
to
of
assemble
Marcus
5,000
Aurelius.
guys and attack
get
Rome.
all your people. By the way, the general that you're loyal to, he's dead, but trust us. And they're like, all right, sure, let's go.
Yeah, that was
just
a lot of that. A heck of a transition of power right there,
yeah,
right?
a lot of convenience. Yeah, right now, all of a sudden, Lucius has this whole army. And another thing is, we see in the first movie how Russell Crowe, Maximus, quickly becomes the leader of that group of gladiators he's with,
Right.
of the slaves,
Yeah.
right? Because they recognize that the tactics, within him,
Yeah, he knows what he's
his
doing.
leadership, But here they just kind of trust,
Yeah,
Lucius.
they were independent, real big monster guys.
All of a sudden, they're just like following his lead too, and that's the thing again where they don't establish that. It's not like he was a wartime general. Sure, he was a soldier, but there's nothing that establishes or shows that
He was a
leader.
slave from one town that was cast in from slaves from anywhere, right? So it wasn't like he was from their town. I mean, if you had slaves from all over the world, they wouldn't even speak the same language.
right.
You know what I mean? It would be impossible. There'd be some guys that were just, war traumatized and they didn't trust anybody.
Yeah, right.
Everybody would be in it for themselves. And, oh, man, But they were all unified through the genius of Denzel Washington, who was really miscast. Now, when I say miscast, he did a really good job of playing the part. I mean, he's a terrific actor. But I felt like that was that movie Training Day or something where he was the same guy. Like, he was the guy that was training the cop, and now he was training, like, it was the same guy. Like, I expected to see the doghouse with the money underneath the doghouse. Like, I expected to see that, And though he did a good job, he got way too much power, way too fast, way too easy. It was like he whispered something to somebody, and now he was the emperor. I mean, that Praetorian Guard was real, especially in 200 AD. They were running everything.
Yeah.
They were the deep state. They were the shadow government and everything. They would have never allowed something like that to happen. For the audience, we'll give them the background on that. He is the trainer of the gladiators. He has a gladiator school, just like in the first movie, there was a gladiator school. Well, this time they had a celebrity gladiator school teacher, and he recognized Hanno, right? He recognized him as a great fighter, and he told him the same thing. You got to get the love of the people. And he said, I will give you an opportunity to kill the general if you do everything I say. And then when it came time to kill the general, when they were face to face on the sands of the arena, the general said, look, before you kill me or whatever, just so you know, this is who you are, this is what it is, I'm married to your mother, this happened, that didn't happen, this is all this good stuff, and I'm sorry it turned out this way. I really did love your mother, I'm sorry what happened to you. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he's standing there, and the Praetorian Guard has to fill him full of arrows, right? Denzel, he takes power. He becomes the de facto ruler, but not for long.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Very short-lived.
So what happens?
Well, he convinces the emperors the one to kill the other.
Yeah.
Because everyone's all mad now. They're rioting, kind of. There's even a point where the guards are like launching arrows into the audience, and they're
right.
So now, and man, even if I was with all the armor and stuff, I wouldn't do that when there's 100 people right there in front of me, like,
right?
And they're just getting like pushed off the.
They're throwing them off the wall, right?
And stuff.
Yeah, and you know, loading arrows takes a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not
right.
an automatic,
Yeah.
like he's not out there with an AR, you know.
Yeah. Macrinus does get to that height very, very quickly, like a little too quick. It seems like something that in reality would be a process of years, right? But this is days, a week.
And he does it without really assembling his own army of any kind.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The Praetorian Guard would have never let that happen.
Right.
Like you would have had something that could beat the Praetorian Guard. And you would, in reality, you had to own and control the Praetorian Guard if you were going to attempt a coup like that.
Right.
You know?
Happens real quick. It feels like he just got the position, and it's like, hey, by the way,
an
the
hour
army's
later.
coming. It's like, oh man. Because, you know, then this is where they're going to execute the mother, Lucilla.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So it turns into the one gladiator to defend her against all these guards, but, you know, he lets everyone out, and they have this big battle and all that. And he ends up killing the brother, you know, the brother emperor. So he convinces the one that seems to be, who's very off his rocker, I guess is slow would be the way to put it, among some other things.
Yes.
And
yeah, he's developmentally disabled to some degree and in love with a monkey.
Yeah. So convinces him to kill his. And man, I love how sly he does that too. Just walks into the room and just, hey, he's going to lie and tell everybody that it was your fault and they're going to kill your monkey. All those people out there are going to get you, you know, and your brother's doing that. He's always lying and doing this. He's like, yep, I don't know. Do with it what you will. Just so gnarly. And of course, you know, he takes over, and I think you already mentioned this when he's having his meeting with the Senate, and he's like, my first council is going to be the monkey. And everyone's like,
oh, that was my favorite moment. And then one of the senator goes, all hail the monkey. Oh, yeah, all hail the monkey. Like, had to break the ice on that, right? And then the second advisor is Denzel.
Yeah.
And they have the same reaction.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there's like a weird racist thing. Like, I mean, like,
well, I think he was the one too. I think it was Denzel who said,
all hail the monkey. Then somebody had to go like, all hail Denzel, you know?
But it's funny, and I love the way this is covered too. And then the emperor's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go. We're gonna have a parade, and he walks away.
Yeah, he just walked away.
And then Denzel just goes into the middle, brings out the other dude, Joseph Quinn's head, and he's like, all right, everyone, I'm running this now.
Right.
I need ultimate like power or whatever. He's like, I need power, and this is what we're
in
gonna
order
do.
to defend Rome.
Yeah,
I need you guys all acquiesce to my.
Yeah. And
find
and they all know.
Denzel. There's an army at the gate. You got the power. Like you it's on you. Oh boy, God.
And then when he ends up killing that poor soul, like and he had to do the little like needle through the ear too. What a way to go!
Oh man, that was like a James Bond thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like Spectre. Right. You know, like yeah. What Rudy is talking about is. The remaining emperor is still alive with the monkey, and Denzel, there's a crowd of people having a riot in the Colosseum now, and he takes out, I don't know how many penny that nail is, but it's a pretty good, like, you know, looked like a galvanized, like something for construction, you know.
Yeah.
He just puts it in his ear and just shoves it right into his head, like, and then,
that's it. It's a wrap.
I thought they were more like cut the throat, cut the head off kind of people. I didn't know they did.
That's what I thought. Or he'd go through like the back of the head right here, just an instant, you know.
Right. Well, with the Gladius, you know, that was so da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. And so the two armies are at the gate, one inside, one outside. They're equally matched. And the thing that hurts me is they're each other. They're the same people. They're brothers. Right. They're all Romans. Mm-hmm. It's not an enemy at the gate.
Yeah.
It's our boys. And now they're both racing to the gate, to one guy to lead the incoming army and one guy to stop the incoming army. And they get there. Now we're going to see David and Goliath, right? So here's the ultimate gladiator up against his teacher, Anjin-san, sensei, whatever, you know, and they're going to have it out. And of course, Denzel is, older and he's not combat ready.
Yeah.
He's used to sitting around and eating grapes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to have it out, and they do, and the armies don't have to fight. And I'm missing the most exciting thing in the movie that I wanted, like when I saw those armies assembling, I thought it was going to be a great battle, but it wasn't. And sanity prevailed, and they all lived happily. Unfortunately, his mother did die, who was an incredible beauty, who even after 16 years looked just as good as in the first movie.
Yeah.
He was now pretty much in control. He wasn't an emperor or anything, so he would return control to the Senate or something.
I guess so, yeah.
Like they didn't really have a ding dong the witch is dead thing.
Yeah.
They missed that movie. But he didn't become the emperor. Like it wasn't all hail.
Right.
It was just,
hey, we're going to work together to fix this.
Yeah.
So I also thought, I was like, wow, we're going to get a huge battle scene right now. I wasn't expecting that out of this movie, but
Ridley
here we go.
Scott, right? Ridley Scott is built for battle scenes.
Yeah, it's Gladiator II. Let's go. This is how we're going to end this thing. And then it doesn't happen, which I'm actually fine with, because I don't know, it almost makes it feel like it would have been a whole different movie in a way. But of course he's going to defeat Denzel Washington in the end, and that's that. And it just seems funny that he would even go hand to hand with him. That he'd get off the horse and be like, all right, let's go, mano a mano, and not just like, guards, kill this man,
Right. Yeah.
He just went for it.
Yeah, because first of all, he killed the emperor.
Yeah.
That was kind of frowned upon in those days, and especially if you were just a guy who was like a slave trainer. Mm-hmm. Like he was not a senator. Yeah. I don't even know that he was a citizen. I think he was a freed slave, right, who had decided to have the school. And in the first movie, the Gladiator School was way better than this one. Mm-hmm. This was like a hotel compared to the original one was brutal. It was a scene out of hell that those guys went through. Ridiculous. It was a fun movie. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed watching the movie. I'm not saying don't see the movie, but they did something in the movie that was really weird. They came around the theater, and there was about 8 people in my theater, and they gave us this. Right? I guess if it's thumbs down, you got to put it on the other hand, because on the back, it's like this, And they gave us this thing. But this thing, I don't know what polyvinyl chloride is, but you know how they always say your carpet is poisoning you or something? This thing smelled so synthetic rubbery that I actually had to put 3 or 4 seats away because I was starting to asphyxiate, And I thought, if this theater was packed and they gave everybody one of these things,
bad experience.
One of these things, right? We probably would have been dead.
Yeah.
It was a terrible pollution thing, But it is pretty funny. I do give the movie a thumbs up. I will give it a thumbs up, but I give it a thumbs up about at I don't know, man, 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'm in that 5-6 zone. I guess I'll just say 5.5.
But they didn't give you the thing.
No, mine
I don't know what
that.
happened there.
Yeah, like I said at the top, I do think it's worth seeing. It is a fun movie. It's got the action. It's got some drama. It's good filmmaking, with the exception of some rough CGI moments, good fights, good battles, cinematography, all that stuff. Like, it's all good. It's not any better. It's not better than the first one. You're not
really
getting better
lacking
than
in
that.
story.
Yeah,
really lacking in character development, and between the monkeys and the sharks and stuff, not really believable period scenes.
Last week, rewatched the first movie in years, like over 10 years, and right after, it was so good, and I appreciated it so much that I wanted to watch it again, immediately. This one. Yeah. I didn't leave feeling that way. As a matter of fact, I almost want to watch Gladiator, the first one again, right? Now even more so, because man, that movie was really good. But yeah, so I'm going to say 5.5 on this.
And I'll echo that. Right. That's fair. I think that's reasonable. It was interesting to compare the two. This is why we did it that way. Last week we watched the first one. This week we watched this one because we knew it was coming out. And our expectations were higher, I think, because we watched the first one.
Luckily for me, I came in with 0 expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be at that level. So that's probably helping my case.
Right.
But I think a lot of people were expecting more. That seems to be the vibe I'm getting from what I've been hearing.
The lead character, he did really do a good job. He was convincing as Lucius or, and I appreciated that. And the woman, his mother,
Yeah, Connie Nielsen.
Connie Nielsen, right? She did a good job again playing her part. She was very sincere, very honorable, very stoic. You know, she loved her husband. She loved Rome. She was doing the right thing all the time. She had thought she had done the right thing by him by sending him down, like, you know, I guess Moses, right, was sent down the river, and then they found him and rehabilitated him. Fun couple of hours, not fun movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this one, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and look for us next time. Cheers.